Oi lads, Crypto here, how you guys doing? I definitely give a shit. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna get far with that attitude. If you're new to the channel, I'm commonly known here as the Pablo Escobar of sex. You know what? Let's go on a little side quest right quick. Let me give you some lore on me. Back in 2007, in the lovely state of Texas, I was well known as the Lord of Sex, and I was in the top 10 leaderboard when it came to that category. Side quest over? It was a pretty quick one, but enjoy your XP, Vault Hunter. Today, we're going to be ranking all the current DLCs in Borderlands 3, and this will be completely based on facts, and none of my personal opinions will be affecting this ranking. The biggest thing affecting the ranking is the amount of content and replayability each DLC has. Additionally, I will do my best to avoid story spoilers. Obviously, some spoilers will just be included in here as they're unavoidable, but I will try to make them as minor as possible. Also, I want to point out that this video is up before the Director's Cut DLC launches, so I'll make sure to update the ranking of the DLCs in a pinned comment once that drops. Anyway, my fellow cervix wreckers, without wasting any more time, let's get right into number 5. Coming in at the number 5 spot is DLC 4, Psychocreek and the Fantastic Fustercluck. I should probably mention that there is no bad DLC in this game, but unfortunately, this comes last. Don't get me wrong, the story is phenomenal and seeing both Maya and Krieg was awesome. However, whilst it does a lot right, it has its own big faults and feels a tiny bit lazy. One reason why people weren't the biggest fans of this DLC is because excluding the bosses, it adds no new enemies to fight against. They even copy and pasted the loaders from DLC 1 into this DLC and didn't even bother taking the DLC 1 drops out of their loot pool. I mean shit, Krieg and his families are also literally reused models. But Crypto, Psychos now ride the big bullet. No. Additionally, it feels like they just tried to add in raid bosses without actually making them raid bosses. Let me explain. The bosses are way too tanky and makes them even more annoying to fight against than shit. Now onto the right. The story of the DLC was incredible, whilst displaying both new lore, covering Krieg's backstory and creating the core plot of the DLC itself. The map design was great, especially Castle Crimson. Echoes were fun to collect, and the puzzle challenges where you could unlock some of Krieg's memories were really creative. Now Valhalla, this is an armory with plenty of chests and you have a limited time to loot them all. Don't get me wrong, it's great. It's a real good way to strike people's nostalgia bonus for the Nox DLC, right? I get it. But when you do the complete opposite of what the Nox DLC did, that being added a new rarity which is super rare yet incredibly strong, yes, I am referencing pearls here, that is when the armory becomes completely useless. Why should I bother farming the chests in Valhalla if I can get more legendary loot from one Gravewood kill which will take me at least quarter of the time of a single armory run? Not to mention the chests in Valhalla don't even drop the weapons from the DLC itself. What the fuck? That's as pointless as downloading a green screen video, shoving it into your video, and not cutting out the green behind the thing you're trying to keep. Taking the number 4 spot is my personal favourite, Guns, Love and Tentacles. This DLC is fully themed on the marriage of Sir Hammerlock and Tony Stark. However, things obviously go wrong and results in us teaming up with the returning character herself, Gage, in order to bring back things to their normal state. Now I say this is my favourite DLC because of so many things. Let's get into the good first. The story is great. The map design is some of the best I have ever seen, giving off a Cthulhu-esque vibe in a beautiful snowy world. Every character who lives on Xylorgos has their own unique curse, making everyone stand out. The loot was very memorable, especially the Anarchy, Mancubus, and finally, the side quests, specifically the Cold Case side quests. Now honestly, I can't believe Cold Case was a side quest chain. This realistically could have been its own standalone DLC. Cold Quest is a side quest chain where you help a man named Burton on a midlife crisis and with dementia to solve mysteries about a missing girl, and really escalates from there. After the side quest chain is completed, you receive a legendary pistol called the 7th Sense, which might not be great these days at endgame, but you still have to give this quest line a go. Now let's get into the bad. There aren't much existing issues in this DLC, but those that exist are very bad. The dedicated drops are done extremely poorly, and I'm confused as to why they haven't changed them around yet. A lot of weapons either wall drop or have an overclouded loot pool, which again, I don't understand as there is so many named enemies within the DLC which don't drop anything. Also, another bad thing are the bosses. And finally, we were kind of lied to. Yeah, Gearbox said this DLC will have, quote, supremely powerful class mods, but yeah, they're not. But that's fine, I was also lied to when I was promised that these pills on my desk here would add an extra 2 inches to my cock. The handsome jackpot. Yup. Now I'll be honest here, I was highly considering making this DLC come at the number 4 spot, but when it comes to bosses and dedicated drops, it has a huge edge. The handsome jackpot catches us up with Timothy Lawrence, or you might also know him as the doppelganger from the pre-sequel, who is now also a fucking simp by the way. It also tells us the story of us taking down Jack's casino and claiming it as our own. This DLC was phenomenal and does so much right. For example, introducing loaders back into BL3, they look really nice, adding a blackjack minigame, caught us up with Jack himself and Timothy, adding some choice-based scenarios in the main story. For example, when you're making your way to the Impound Deluxe, you are stopped by a robot. You can either pay him to walk through casually, or you can not pay and trespass. And finally, adding loot loaders into the game. I'm actually disappointed that not every DLC had its own unique loot enemy. Additionally, the soundtrack fits the theme and aesthetic of this DLC so incredibly well. Now, let's get into the negative. Nowhere near enough loot considering most of it isn't good. I said drop rates were better than in DLC 2, and whilst that is true, this DLC didn't do them too great either considering most items were way too common. And now it's time for the number 2 spot. Coming in second to best is the Designer's Cut DLC. Now I know, very unpopular opinion, however, like I said, this list is highly affected by replayability. For the very first time in the series, the Designer's Cut introduced a 4th skill tree for all Vault Hunters and was genuinely a good addition. These can heavily change your playstyle and were a perfect alternative for those who wanted a new Vault Hunter. Additionally, this DLC brought us some of the best weapons currently in the game, such as the Boogeyman and, of course, you guessed it, the Plasma Coil. The Designer's Cut also brought us Arms Race, which is a Battle Royale theme mode, and I know, just like I did, a lot of you will panic, but this is very fun alone or with friends and is extremely replayable. I just really wish they added more to it post-release. It was a huge missed opportunity by Gearbox. And finally, Arms Race also returned Axton and Salvador from Borderlands 2 and gave them commentary throughout your Arms Race runs, which is not only entertaining, but tells you what the two were up to in the last 7 years. Also, enjoy listening to Axton talk about lube. You'll be hearing plenty of that. Bounty of Blood, meta weapons which you'll be farming a lot, great story, no returning characters made it better, fun side quests, new vehicle, fancy soundtrack, amazing drop rates, a very interesting villain, and finally, good purples which is something BL3 doesn't have. Bad things, story was short. Now this is debatable as some people think it made the story better. No loot enemies like every other DLC had, for example, a new chubby enemy. Now there was one in the code but for whatever reason it got scrapped, and yeah, that's about it. This DLC has almost no flaws and that's what makes it so good. If you haven't played any BL3 DLC, Bounty of Blood is a great start and is a must play. You literally get everything you would expect to get out of your $15. But yeah, that's the ranking over with and it marks the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching and make sure to hit that like and subscribe bell as it really does help me out a lot. Also, make sure to let me know what your favourite DLC is in the comment section down below. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Stay classy. Peace.